Welcome to another Synfig tutorial. So for this one, I'll be showing you how you would rig a character like this. And this style is from the ExplosmEntertainment type animations. And if you don't know what that is, it's this type of, well, this is what their style looks like. Right? Very simple shapes. So you can create these very easily in Synfig. But I'm just going to show you how you would rig something like this, right? So here, I created my own version of one of their characters. So I'm just going to show you what I have here in the setup. So I have my legs here in one folder, which is just two splines. I created one, I used the spline tool and created 2 points, right? And then I duplicated that layer over here and I renamed it, right? I pretty much did the same thing with the arms here. And I have the body layer, which is just a simple rectangle shape, as well as the outline. And the arms, as I stated before, pretty much the same thing as the legs. I have these in separate folders. Let me do the same with this right here. So let me put the left leg in its own folder. Call this left_L. Oh no, this is the right leg, sorry. So leg, let me call this leg_R for right leg. Let me put this in its own folder. I'm going to call this leg_left_L left. And I'm going to pull these out. I'm just going to select them, Control X and Control V. Pull them outside of the folder. Now they're in their individual folders. Okay, so yeah, so I have the arm set up and I have the head, and inside of the head folder, right, I have the outline here at the top. The reason why I've placed the outline separate from the head layer, which is this right here, right, is because I wanted it to be over the face here, right? So I basically just cut it and paste it above the face. So inside the face, first we have the eyebrow layer, we have the eyes, and we have the mouth. Okay, and I can open up that. Inside the eyes, I have different eye shapes, and in the eyebrows, pretty much the same thing. I have different eyebrow shapes. So we're going to use these as a switch, and same thing for the mouth. So the mouth, the eyes, and the eyebrows, right? And I've already set up some switches here, right, that will be using to change the shape of the eyes, the eyebrows, and the mouth, right, like so. And if you want to know how to create these, I already have tutorials in my videos. But if you want to see me creating this entire character, you can head over to my Patreon page. I'll be posting it right there, as well as the completed file, right? So if you want to get all of that, you can head over to my Patreon if you want and download and watch all those videos. All right, so let me undo this. So what's going on here? Okay. All right, yeah, so that's pretty much the setup that I have for this character. So let me show you how you go ahead and rig this, right? So I'm going to start with the head here. So don't pay these any mind, right? We'll just be focusing on the head here. So I'm going to go to the head layer, the head group here, which contains the entire head, right? And let's right click, new layer, other, click on skeleton, and we'll create a bone for the head. And I'm just going to rotate this, go over into the angle here, rotate this by 90 degrees. I'm just going to move this up, and I'm going to position the origin point somewhere, well, similar to where I have the origin point for the folder, right? You don't have to do that, but I like to keep my things organized in that particular way. And I'm going to move this up like so. All right, so this will control the head, and I'm going to be rigging as I go, right? I'm not going to create the bones first. So once I create the bones, I'll be rigging them. So I'm going to call this the head bone, head underscore bone, or head. Well, let me just call it head, shorten, because you already know that it's a bone, right? Based on how it looks. And then I'm just going to hold on Control, select this, right click here, link to bone, and that is now linked, like so. Alright, so the next thing is I'm going to go inside of the head layer here, and so I'm going to be separating the bones. I'm going to place them basically above each layer that I want the bone to control, right? So this is a different way to rig instead of having everything inside one skeletal system. I'm going to click on the face because I want to have a bone to move the face by itself, right? So let me, oh, by the way, before I continue, the face right here, I notice if I move it, it goes, it stays within the borders here, right? And to achieve that effect, just make sure that you have the face and the head within a group, within one group, and then you just come to blend method here and change the composite to onto, all right, and it will give you that effect if you didn't know how to do that. So let me continue. So I'm going to right click over the face, new layer, other skeleton. Let me move this up, and I'm going to change the angle to 90 just to rotate the bone. I'm going to move this up somewhere here. I'm going to put it pretty much in the same location as the folder. The region, the anchor point, put it in the same location. And I'm going to rename this to face. Really should be calling them face bone and head bone, but let's leave it at that. I'm going to scale this bone down. Alright, so we have that bone for the face, and I'm just going to go ahead and parent it to that group. So right click, link to bone, like so. Then if I move the face, well, we don't want to rotate, right? But if I move the face, right, we see that happening. So I'm just going to go to these points because we won't be rotating or scaling the face. So I'm going to right click on the scale, convert, and convert it to grid. And now I won't be able to click on that control point. And I'm going to do the same for the rotate point here, convert to grid. Alright, so the only one that I can select is pretty much the origin point here. Alright, so we have the face and the head. And the face is within the head group, right? And the head bone controls the head group. So, in theory, if I should move the head, the face bone will also move, right? Without them being parented to each other. Alright, so that's another technique to parent stuff without actually parenting them, by using groups, a combination of groups and bones. Okay, so we have that set up, and we may want to move the eyebrows up and down, so I'm going to add an eyebrow bone as well. So I'm going to open up the face here, and right above the eyebrows, I'm going to right click, other skeleton, add a skeleton or a bone. I'm just going to rotate this by 90 degrees. Click on the eyebrow folder. I already have the region point set up here, so let me actually move the pivot point, move the origin point. I keep on calling it pivot point because in other programs that's what you call it. So I'm going to move it to I'm going to move the origin point off the folder to match up with the bone. I'm going to call this eyebrows. Alright, and I'm going to move this down. I'm going to scale the bone down like so. And I'm going to parent that to the eyebrow group here. So let me click on that, one of the anchor points for the folder. Let me rotate this. Right click. Let me do that again. Click, right click, link to bone. Okay. And now we have the eyebrows linked to the bone. Like so, right? Alright. And it will also move with the head because it's within the head group. So if I move the bone, we see all of those move. Let us try to rotate, and they rotate just fine. Okay, so I think that's it for the head. And I'm going to link these controls that I have here to the headboard. So these controls are located here, in their individual groups. So I'm just going to go ahead and group these and call this face control. Let me face underscore control 20 ROL, and I'm going to move that down like so, just above the head, and I'm going to select control select the head here. Let me move the origin point for this somewhere here. I'm going to select this and then right click on the bone and click link to bone to link it to the bone so that it moves along with the face. I mean, you'll only have to do this if you want it to move with the face, but you could have it being separate. But I want it to move along with the character whenever the character moves, right? And also, you don't want the head to be removed from the body here. So I would say right click this and click on convert it to grid, right? So it won't be able to move off of the character's body. All right, so that's pretty much it for the head. So let's go ahead and rig the arms. So because the rig for the arm is pretty much will be the same for the legs, I'm just going to show you how to rig one arm, okay? And then I'm going to show you how to rig the body. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just basically skip to the full rig, and then I'll show you how to do like a basic animation with the rig, okay? So, but if you want to watch me create the full rig, you can head over to my Patreon page where you'll see me creating the entire rig, okay? So here I have 2 points for the arms. So what I want to do is I want to create a third point somewhere near the center, like here. So I'm going to right click on insert item to keep shape. So now we have 3 points, okay? So this is the left arm, and I have the origin point on the top part here. So if you rotate, it will rotate around that point there. And I'm just going to create a bone now. So right click, new layer, other skeleton. So I have the skeleton here, and I'm going to be duplicating this 2 times. So Control C, Control V, Control V, duplicates that. And I'm going to call this upper arm underscore L for the upper part of the arm. And I'm going to call this one lower LRR arm underscore L. I'm going to call this one hand underscore L. Okay, let me rearrange these. So I'm going to have the upper arm on the top, lower arm, and then the hand. So let's go ahead and set up these bones. So I'm going to select the arm layer here, and I'm going to hold on Control and select this bone. And what I want to do is move the origin point to match up with the first point here on the layer, okay? I'm going to select the bone by itself and just scale it down a bit like so. And I'm going to select the arm layer again, hold on Control and select the second bone here. And I'm going to be moving it over this point here. Well, actually, I'm going to go and change the first one that we just did. So you don't want to put it over the point on the layer. You want to put it close to it, right? Because we need to see the point in order to parent it. So let me go ahead and fix this one here. So let me click on the bone and just move it over a bit to take it off of the arm. So this is okay, like so. We're still seeing a piece of the point for the arm, so that is good. And let me go ahead and scale this bone down to something like this. By the way, it doesn't matter if you have the bones laying down. You could rotate them by 90 degrees as well. if you want, because we'll only be using, well, for this one we'll be using all 3 points, but it still works if you rotate it, if you would rotate it by 90 degrees. Okay, I'm gonna just select this one, select this, and do the same here. But I'm going to be rotating this bone by 90 degrees just so it fits on the arm. Well, let me say 180 degrees, not 90 degrees. Alright, by the way, this is not a requirement. You could leave it turning in the other direction, because all we want is this point right here. But let me just select the layer here, and I'm going to move this up close to the point on the arm here. So now we have 3 bones which will control 3 different parts of the arm. Okay, and let me move this down. The reason why we're doing this rig this way is because we want the arms to bend like almost like that Adventure Time style, where the arms are curvy. I think that's a series that I saw that on. Anyway, so we won't be using these 2 points, so let me just go ahead and gray these out. Gray, right click, gray. Okay, so let's us parent these bones now. So click on the arm layer here and hold on Control and click on, I'm gonna be parenting these 2 bones first. So let me just click on, with the layer selected, I'm gonna hold on Control and click on the lower arm bone. Let me zoom all the way in so we can see the point, and click on the point for the layer, the arm layer, and right click on the origin point for the bone and click on link to bone, and that will be linked to that bone. So if we move it, we get a movement like this. Okay, so it's all wobbly and rubbery. And I'm going to be doing the same thing for this. Just select the point here, right click the origin point and click link to bone. Alright, so when we click on this and move it, it will move like that. Alright, and we're not going to link this one yet, because this one is going to be linked to the overall group of these 2 bones here. So with these 2 linked, I'm going to make sure that this layer is closed, the arm layer, and I'm going to hold on Control and I'm going to click on the hand and click on the lower arm here. So we have the arm layer, the hand bone, and the lower arm bone. Okay, and do not select the upper arm bone. So what we want to do is place these 3 within a group. I'm going to click on the group. I'm going to call this lower arm underscore L. Alright, and you can put the origin point for this folder pretty much wherever you want, but I'm going to place it pretty much the same place where I have the origin point for the bone here, just to stay organized, because the bone will be controlling this entire folder anyway. So click on the folder, hold on Control, click on the bone again, and click, and we're going to parent. So click on a control point for the folder, and right click on the bone, click on link to bone. So now what we've done is parented the group to the bone, to the upper bone, or the upper arm bone. So now we'll be using that to move both the lower arm and the upper arm. And we don't want it to detach from the body. So I'm going to right click here and just click on grade. And we don't want it to scale either, you know, like so. So I'm going to just grade this out as well. Alright. And the rig for the arm is complete. And I'm going to leave these because these will help us whenever we want to place the arm in a particular position. So let me show you how you do that. So let's say I wanted the character to do something like this. You could move this, and then you'd use both the scale and the rotate to assist to make it look better, right? Well, pretty much you just need the rotate, but we'll just leave both the rotate and the scale active. Okay, so I'm basically just using my arrow keys. I clicked on one of the points and just using my arrow keys to kind of move the arm in increments. So yeah, you can pretty much get the poses that you want like so. Alright, so that is rigged, and as I stated before, I'm not going to show you how to do the legs as well as the other arm, because it's pretty much the same technique. It's very same technique as the arm here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to skip to the completed rig, and oh wait, one more thing before I skip to the rig. You'll notice that I'll set up sets for each area of the body that I want to be able to move easily. So I'll show you how to do that, as well as I haven't rigged the upper part of the body. I forgot, so let me go ahead and do that. So to rig the upper part of the body, I'm going to make sure that I'm on. So whenever I move the body, I want the arms as well as the head, everything inside the head to move, right? So the best thing to do is select the body and hold on Shift and just select pretty much everything that you want to move along with the body, and we'll be placing those in one group. So this is in a group, and I'm going to call this upper body, and I'm going to place the pivot point, the origin point for the body somewhere here. I'm going to right click, new layer, other skeleton, right? And I'm going to line this up. I'm going to rotate this by 90 degrees first, and I'm going to line up the origin points with the origin point for the group, like so. I'm going to scale this bone up and hold on Control, so select both it and the group layer and just parent them together, like so. I'm going to call this upper body or upper body bone, whichever. So when I move this, they all move. Okay, don't worry about this, right? And then I'm going to put all of those in one group. Okay, and then let me move this down here. So we can create another bone to move the character all at once if you want, or we can use this as the master to move the character, right? I think I'll create a bone as well. So let me just right click, new layer, other skeleton, and I'm going to rotate this by 90 degrees. I'm going to line up the origin point with that of the folder, like so. Okay, so that will be our master bone. The master bone will basically just allow us to move the character as a whole, pretty much the same way as the wheel do with the group. So let me just go ahead and link these into bone. I'm going to call this, I don't know, let's give this guy a name. Let's call him Guy, or Explosm Dude. Whatever you want to call it. So yeah, that's not really important. So yeah, and let me rename this to Master. And so yeah, you can rotate the character, you could scale, but let me right click the scale here and gray it out because we don't want that. Yeah, but I'm going to leave the rotate as well as the origin point on grayed out. So yeah, so I'm going to be just showing you how I would create like a set for the bones here. So let me open up this folder, but before that I'm going to be creating a shape so that I don't have to select the bone here for the face. So I'm going to go to the face control folder here where I have these, and I'm just going to create a circle here, like so. I'm going to call this brow underscore CK CNTRL. Okay, And what I'm going to do, I'm going to be linking this to the face bone. So let me go and find the face bone, hold on Control, select the both of them. Let me move this down. I'm going to select both origin points, right click and click link. Now they are both linked. And let me just gray this out so we won't be able to scale it. And also I'm going to change the color here so we can see this much easier. Change it to something like this. So whenever I click on the shape, it will move the face. Well, oh, this one is for the face. Let me just rename this. I selected the wrong one, so I'll just call this face. And I'm going to create one for the eyebrows as well. So let me just go ahead and do that. Create that shape there. Rename this brow underscore back underscore C TRL. And again, you can rename these pretty much whatever you want. It's up to you. And let me find that eyebrow bone. So make sure that I have the eyebrow bone selected as well as the shape here. Let me move this up. Oops, let me move the shape down and just select both of these, right click and link. Okay, don't want that happening. So it's moving up because of the where it's located. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut this one here. And I am going to be just going to move it underneath the eyebrow bone here. Because we have so many folders that sometimes, depending on the location of the layers, you know, it won't get the effect that you want. So you have to be very careful there. So it's right beneath the eyebrows. So it should link correctly now, like that. And let me just click off, right click, click on grade. So now this will be controlling the eyebrows. Okay. And yeah, so let me just quickly show you how I would go ahead and organize these, because what you don't want when it comes to animation, you don't want to be selecting a whole bunch of points individually. Well, you'll still be selecting them individually, but you want to make everything organized so it will be easier to animate the character, right? So starting with the eyebrows here, right? This controls the eyebrows. So what I want to do is right click this and click on add layers to set. I'm going to call this 01 underscore brows, and then click add. Right, so this allows us to, and the sets are located next to the layers panel here. So if I double click, it will automatically select, well, it will select the eyebrows, so I'll easily find that layer there. And let me go to the second one I want to do is, I guess I'm just going to do the face, or the wait, let me see. I think I am going to, yeah, let me do the face. Right click the face here, click add layers to set, click O2. And the reason why I'm adding numbers is just so that they will be organized as well. So type in face, add. So we wanted to count 1, 2, but you can rename these. So if I wanted this to be on top, I'll just call this 01 and then change the brows to 2 instead. Right, so I'll just come here and type 2. So now the brows will be under the face, and so on and so forth. Okay, all right, so I'm just going to skip ahead to the character fully with all the sets. And by the way, I created sets for each bone here. So the upper arm bone, the lower arm bone, and the hand bone. I have a set for each of those for the left arm, and as well as the right arm and each leg as well. You'll see it once I skip ahead. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, so here I have the character with all the controls all set up, right? And to activate any of these, you just double click, right, to view them, and then you'll be able to move whatever it is that control allows you to move. Alright, so yeah, so let's see how we would go about animating a character like this. Now, the first thing I would advise is to go to keyframe properties and remove that initial keyframe there. Right, we don't want that. Then, I animate on constant first, and then afterwards we can change it to easy and ease out. It's more work, but it does help in viewing your animations and making them look much better. Well, it helps with planning it much better. So anyway, so with that change to constant, I'm going to turn on my animate button here. And let's decide what we want the character to do. Let's say we wanted the character to, I guess, put his arms on his side and then look up and blink. Alright, so let's see how best we can do that. So the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that I assign a keyframe to all the controls here, except for the face controls, which has to do with changing the shapes of the eyes and the eyebrows and the mouth, right? We don't need to add keyframes to those because we can do those separately, right? So I have named all those controls over here so I know which one is which. So brow shape, brow move. All right, so brow move, we need that to make the eyebrows move. So I'm going to select that one first. And notice I've organized them in a way that will help me to select only the ones that I need. Brow shapes, brow mouth shapes. Okay, I need brow move, and I'm going to hold on the control key on my keyboard, and select the next one that we need. Okay, which is the head, and I'm just going to work my way down. I'm looking for the face. Okay, we need the face as well. So let me double click on that. So I'm just double clicking on the ones that we want, like so. All right. So with all of my points highlighted, minus the face controls here, I'm just going to select all of them like this. And I'm going to press the up arrow key on my keyboard, or you could press the down arrow key, it doesn't matter. Just make sure that whatever you press first, you press the opposite key afterwards. So I pressed the up arrow key, so I'm just going to press the down arrow key to move it back into its location like so. Also, we do have rotate controls. So I think the best thing would have been to do was to like move it to the right or the left. So I'm going to go ahead and do that just to make sure that the keys for the rotate have been set. I'm just going to press the right arrow key, then press the left arrow key. So if there is any rotation that needs to be done, that keyframe will also be added. So let me click off of all those and just click on them individually, and we can see that a keyframe has been assigned to pretty much all of the ones that we had before, right? We selected. Okay, so now those keyframes are set. So we have our default pose here. I'm just going to come down here. So maybe the character is like this, and then when it gets to here, at about frame, let's say frame, I'm basically eyeballing it here. So let me go to maybe frame 15 and have the characters, well no, let me go to frame 12 and have the character's arm move down to his side. So we can select them here, or we can come over here and let me look for the upper left arm, whichever way is quickest for you. You can select here or over here. So I'm gonna move that down, and I'm gonna select this here, move it on its side here. I'm gonna select this one here. So it's, again, we can select it here, or we can select it over in our control panel here. It doesn't really matter. I'm gonna move this up. Okay, so he has his arms on his side, like so. I'm going to do the same with this one over here. Let me rotate this down, move this over, like so, and set this up. Rotate, like so. And do that. rotate again and then move it in. Okay, that is looking okay to me. Alright, so we move back and forward, we can see what the character is doing. And you can always come back and fix the way it looks later on if it doesn't look okay to you. Alright, but I am okay with this. So let me just double click on this to see where we stopped again. Okay, so frame 12, the character is like this, and I want to hold this until frame 24. Alright, so I'm on the upper arm here. I'm just going to duplicate this keyframe by holding down shift and dragging it out. And we want all of these, the same shape for each of these controls to pretty much remain the same. So we'll have to click on each of those, which is the lower left arm here, and we'll have to duplicate the keyframe for each of those. So I'm going to go to the left arm here, and I want to do the same for the right arm. So I'll click on this. Right. So this is very important. Always have to make sure that you have keyframe for each of the ones that you will be moving. Alright, so all of those are set. And maybe at this frame, which is frame 35, the character would move its body back. But we have to make sure that once it holds here, right? This holds here, so we'll have to make sure that there's a keyframe for the upper body. I think I have one here, yeah. So we have to make sure that there's a keyframe in the exact same position as we stopped the arms, right? Because we need the body to move, so we need to make sure that, okay, the keyframe stores a pose. So we want it to be at this pose at this particular location. Okay, so we can just go ahead and duplicate this keyframe here, right? So it stays there, and then when it moves down now to maybe frame 35, then we can move it. All right, that's very important. A lot of the times I see people don't really think about these things, and then they just go ahead and move the character, and then it moves, and then they don't know why it's moving when it's not supposed to be moving, or vice versa. But yeah, so the character looks up like so, right? And of course we want his face to move up as well. So I'm going to come here, and I'm going to assign a keyframe for the head, which is excuse me. So yeah, I'm click on the head here, make sure that there's a keyframe here, and at frame 35, all right, we want to rotate the head just a bit like so. All right. And I'm going to do the same for the face here. Where's the face? I'm going to duplicate the face and duplicate the frame there. And on frame 35, where it moves, we'll just move the face up. So the character is looking up, like so. Right. And you could move his eyebrows as well, but I'm going to leave it like that. So it looks up. And then I'm going to have him just stay there until frame 45. So let me move this over. And again, we'll have to add keyframes for all the parts that we had moving. So I know that I'm just going to quickly click on this. So if you have a bunch of keyframes going down like this, what you can do is close up the bones and just focus on one set here. And it will automatically alter everything within the rest of the bones. So I'm just move this over here for the body, and of course we altered the arms as well. So let me move this so it can stay into its position. Okay, like so. This one as well, and for this part of the arm, as well as this part of the arm. So I'm just duplicating those frames. Did we do anything else? Let me select the face. The eyebrows. Let me see brow move. Okay, I'm going to just duplicate a frame for the eyebrow so it stays there as well, but I'm going to have it move when the character comes down. And we want to just move over to maybe frame 55, and I'm just going to move the body. Well, I'm going to have the body come back into its original position, and I know that that is the very first one that we had here. I'm going to move this over so we have him like that. And once he does that, then on maybe frame 64, I'm going to have his face come down. So let me come back here and make sure that there's a keyframe for the face here. So here, so it stays into position there, and then 54, well, comes down here. Then frame, let's say 64, it comes down here like so. Right? So it looks like, gives a look like this. Well, I'm not gonna actually have this come down a bit more like so. It's looking on the ground. Okay. Now that is that. And also when he looks up here, like so, I'm going to have him blink. So I'm going to go to my eye shapes here. And I'm just going to move this up to add a keyframe there and then move it back down. And then I'm going to move one frame up, and the shortcut to move one frame up, let me zoom in by just moving my middle mouse wheel, my cursor over this line here, and just moving my middle mouse wheel up and up to zoom in, and I can move it down to zoom out. So let me just zoom in. I'm going to press Control and the right bracket. Well, what's that? The greater than sign. And the greater than sign is like a sideways V going towards the right. I might just put it up on the screen so you can see. So Control and that button there to move it one frame forward, or you can just move one frame forward if you want. I'm just going to move this up, move another frame forward, then move another frame forward and just change the shape. Move another frame forward, change the shape. So his eyes are closed, and then I'm going to open them back to simulate a blink. Like so. Alright, so let me zoom out of this and come back here. So if we play, I'm just going to press Ctrl P. Character does that. Right? And I mean, we could have him blink again when he comes here. So I'm just going to zoom in and I'm going to duplicate all of these. So I'm just going to click on one and hold down the Control key on my keyboard to select all of these. And then hold on the Shift and select anyone and just move them over so that I can just duplicate that blink. So if we play again, like so, Ctrl P, see the character doing that, right? And we can make this more lifelike if we spend the time, right? We could have the eyebrows moving down again, you know, or creating other shapes. But I mean, let's not get too technical here. That's if I wanted to create a perfect animation, right? But I'm just showing you how you go about animating something like this. Okay, so my movements are done. The next step is to change our keyframes, right? So we'll have to go in and make sure that we change all of the keyframes that we altered to the desired keyframe that we want, which is the ease in, ease out. So even though we added keyframe for each of these, we didn't necessarily use all of them, right? So, but I mean, I'll just go through and change each of them to ease in, ease out anyway, except for the shape for the face, right? But you can just focus on the ones that you did move. So I'm just going to right click, ease in, ease out. So I'm going to move up within my sets here. Just double click on them and then right click, ease in, ease out. Right. I didn't use any of these, but you know, just change them anyway. The sad thing about this is that I can't select all of them and just change them to a particular type of keyframe. I have to do it individually, right, which means more work. But when it comes to animation is a lot of work anyway if you want to make it look good. So this is just another part of it. But still, I'd love that feature to be implemented where I can just select all of the keyframes and just change them to a particular type of keyframe, right? That would be so cool. But yeah, so I'm just going to change each of these to ease in, ease out, and I'm almost done. Let me double click on this one, ease in, ease out. Right. So before the animation, you saw it looked very stiff, right? But when I change the keyframe, you will see what happens when I do that. So I'm just going to finish this up, and then I'm going to play it so you can see. Okay, so we don't need any for the we don't need to change the mouth shapes or the brows. Well, let me change the brows, even though we didn't move them anyway. And brow shapes are fine. Eye shapes, yeah, we don't need to change these to easing these out because they happen one after the next. So for this pose by pose is very good, right? So we'll just leave these keyframes here. And but the face now, we'll change that because the face does move differently from the eye shapes. Right, so let me just explain that part again. For the shapes, where you're switching out the eye shapes and like the mouth shapes and the eyebrow shapes, you don't need to add ease in, ease out for those, right? Because they happen pretty much one shape after the next. So all we're doing is switching out different shapes, right? So that does not need to be ease in, ease out. So we can leave those at constant, but for everything else, we'll change it to ease in, ease out. So let me click on this preview button right here, and let me click play and see how this looks. Alright, so as you can see, it looks much smoother. It's not perfect, right? But we can go in, the cool thing, we can go in and make changes. So for example, like maybe right here, I don't like the way the arms are looking here. So I could come in and just do some alterations here. So maybe I'll have this look like this, and I could do that. Let me close this up, right click, ease in, ease out. So we'll have, okay, so that's looking much worse. So let me undo that. Yeah, but you can come in and alter the keyframes if you want. Let me alter this one here. Let me change this to easy and ease out so that I can do it much faster. Now let me rotate this point here. Okay, yeah. All right, and of course you can move keyframes where you need them to move. So for example, maybe this arm here, we could move this down a bit. So, right. Then maybe for this one, we could alter this one as well. Right, so it's pretty easy to make changes here. Let me just move this up. And I'm going to change these keyframes to easy and ease out, and let me play. Alright, and that is looking okay. Now, when it comes to rendering, you don't want to if you have your controls like this, you don't want to render the controls along with the character. So if I should, let me preview this. So let me change the quality and the frame rate, 24. Yeah, so if I preview this, right, notice that these control points are showing up, but we wouldn't want them to show up in the final render. So what we'll do is go and find those shapes, exactly where they are, and we just right click and click disable layer rendering for each of those, so they won't show up in the final render. Disable layer rendering, and we have one for the face as well, disable layer rendering, and we also have one for the head, for the face, the eyebrows. Okay, yeah, so the face, we have one for the face. Where is that? is right here, and disable layer rendering. So if I should go back to, and the bones automatically, they do not show up in the final render, so you don't have to worry about those. Let me preview this again, and now they're gone. Okay, so that's pretty much how you would animate. It takes time. If you want to make it perfect, you'll have to spend the time and you know, go over it, play the animation, watch it, and then make your changes. Okay, so let me play this and see how this looks. Yeah, so it's not the best, but I did a previous test with this and I'll show you now. Okay, yeah, so that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and it was a bit long, but it was worth it. And remember, if you want to get the files, all the files for this video, you can check out my Patreon. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, and I will see you in the next one.
Yo, MRD.